Yo guys, how's it going? My name's Umzi and welcome back to another Fault gameplay video. This time around we've got me playing Sevarog in the jungle, and this video is going to be completely different to every other video that I've done in the past. This time around I'm going to be going over my own gameplay, and I'm actually going to be analysing it to tell you guys why I did something specific or why I did what in the game that we're currently watching. Now, first things first, first thing that I always do while in draft, I always end up checking for how my teammates play, what their main positions are, and I try to give them their main positions. For example, in this game, everyone was normally like an ADC slash mid slash offlaner. No one knew how to jungle. Therefore, I took over jungle. First thing that after that I ended up doing was checking out the enemies and what their main things are. I was trying to find myself someone who's weak and someone who didn't actually play in the position that they did play. And an example of this was their enemy Chimera, which is really good because it led me to counter jungle them pretty hard. Other than that, first thing that you see me do is put down a ward on my blue. This is a countermeasure for just in case if they end up rushing into my blue and taking that without me knowing. Now, other than that, I'm standing in that one position to make sure that I see a possible invade. Now, other than that, I also noticed that I saw Chimera next to my Murdoch's ward on the right-hand side of the map. This gives me some sort of idea that he may be starting blue side, which is what I end up going towards, as you can see from later into this game. Other than that, after taking my red, the first thing I always look to do is find a gank. This is because it can normally help you get level 3 almost instantly. First thing I try to do is get a right lane gank, but I realize that they see me coming, so I end up just instantly moving away from them. And I see that the mid laner Gideon is still level 1. This tells me that he has not got his escape, so I end up going for mid lane, and I also know that my Belica got her Q as her first ability. This means this should be an almost guaranteed kill. With her Q stun plus my subjugate combined, that should almost always be a kill. As you guys did see, I did end up lagging a little bit, hence why I took one tower shot, but I shouldn't have taken that anyway. After that, I normally go for the enemy blue buff, but I remember the Chimera had been on the right hand side of the map, therefore I thought he would start blue. I checked his first minion camp, saw that he actually had taken it. Therefore, I was like, he's probably taking his second white camp, or he's going for his blue buff. Before initiating the fight with him, I end up using my affliction on one of his minions. This is because, first of all, it healed me back for 30% of the damage done, which is around 100 HP, which can change a team fight. And second of all, I ended up taking one of his minion farm. Now, one thing I did wrong here was I saw the enemy Twin Blast and Narbash going from the right lane towards me. I should have either backed, but I was hoping that my team would actually end up also helping me and coming towards them too, so we can make it a 3v2 rather than them making a 2v1. My first mistake was actually believing that my team was rotating when they weren't. Therefore, I should have just backed after the Chimera kill, because I did realize that they were coming right before I started the blue buff. Now, other than that, first item I pick is Wraps. The reason why I go for Wraps is because as a jungler, movement speed is always good to get because you know it's going to help you with your ganks. I normally choose between going for the first 1000 gold item for Balaam, or I end up going for my 1100 Wraps. Other than that, there's not much to do on the map, as I can see that my left lane is pushed up and my mid lane isn't really susceptible to a gank due to the enemy laner being Gideon. And he's playing pretty passive considering I ganked him early. So I end up trying to just take my minion camps. What you see me doing here is wasting time and weaving around the minions in order to try and help take subjugate. Sorry, in order to siphon them rather than just kill them with my normal basic attack. After that, I just end up going for my camps because I know there's still nothing else to do on the map. One thing that I could have done, however, on this point is help the Quang and Belica gank mid lane, because this would have been a 3-man gank combining a tether, a knock-up, and my subjugate, which would have led to a guaranteed kill. Now, after that, I end up trying to go right lane, but it doesn't end with anything because my right laners end up pushing way too quick, and I can't really do much about it. After that, I try to counter jungle due to me knowing that Twin Blast is going to have to back, and Chimera has already been to his right side, so he won't come to his left side. Sorry, he won't come back to his right side. In addition, I find out the timer on the blue buff just because I know I didn't end up taking it, but the enemies did. And I was going to look for another gank here, but as you can see from my screen shaking, I was angry that they ended up going for an early initiation to the Narbash, which led to me not being able to gank them. Same with mid lane, as they ended up going pretty early, I couldn't help with the gank. All I could do is pretty much just get some damage after this Gideon to force him to either back or just play passive so my Belica can have an easy lane phase. Now I just decided to go back into the camp, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I don't think there is any harm at this point. Oh wait, no. What I ended up doing was I went to the right side, but because I went to gank the Gideon mid lane, it went to a point where the enemy wave was already too far pushed up, so when I go through their jungle into their other jungle, from their blue side to their red side, they wouldn't see me coming, because the minions would not spot me. Therefore, I can start taking this guy's red jungle as a measure for my counter jungling. Now, in addition to this, as you guys can see, I do still end up taking one minion. First of all, for the affliction health. Second of all, for one minion down is always a benefit to the enemy, because my affliction does always come back pretty quick. But other than that, I already know that because I've been counter jungling so hard and I've basically taken my red, his blue side, this means my blue side should have minimum 4-stack minions, which is amazing for my Sevarog siphoning ability. So I just end up taking my blue side. However, as you can see on the map currently, there is a Greystone trying to take my my Belica. They end up taking her, but he does end up dying pretty early and I looked to see if there's a possible gank, but there was no option to do so because Gideon had already backed. I can see that my red buff's coming up, so I end up trying to take I think I take my blue and then I end up going to my red buff. Noticing that the Gideon is actually very low in mana, I look for a potential gank. I alert my right hand side that Chimera is on his way, and I can also see that 7 minutes has passed, therefore Raptors are coming up in 3 minutes, which I keep reminding myself, so I start making some sort of jungle pathing in my head, which allows me to always be around Raptors around 3 minutes. In this case, I think I went for blue buff to red buff to white camp, or a gank, and then that would have been around about 3 minutes. After taking my 2 camps, my 2 white camps, and pretty much exhausting my red side jungle, I end up going towards Raptors and preparing for the area about 30 seconds in advance. I alert my team that it's best chance to take our Raptors. I also ward up their blue buff because I know it's going to be up at this time. But the one mistake that I do end up making, I believe here, is that I end up trying to siphon an enemy camp, which eventually leads to me not being able to actually get the camp as Twin Blast came out of nowhere and started to kill me. However, I would have gone all in on here, but I anticipated the fact that there was enemies around me, so I ended up trying to get away rather than going all in for the Twin Blast. If I went all in, I'm pretty sure I would have ended up dying. Trying to get away with all my might, I end up pretty much trying to lead the enemy Twin Blast towards my team, which does, I believe, end up getting the kill, and I end up surviving, which is pretty well done. My whole team manages to rotate because they were prepping for Raptor, so it's a 4-man on a 4-man. Or is that 4-man on a 5-man? To be honest, my team should have backed here and just not forced the fight. But this does lead me to be able to make a quick comeback and quickly go back into the fight straight after getting all my health back and seeing that the enemy team is pretty weakened. I thought that the best way to go into the fight would have been through this side because this would have allowed me to not be seen because I knew we had a ward, therefore they did not have a ward as wards spot each other. I get an easy kill on Twin Blast and I realized that I can't get any other kills, so I try to get the ultimate from the Greystone so we can get an easier fight next time. I tell my team to come Raptors, which is what we end up doing, and we end up not only winning the fight with 2 kill versus 1 death and also getting 3 Raptors, which was pretty well done. Unfortunately, our Murdoch does not rotate for these Raptors, so I just end up taking them because there's no point waiting. I miss my Siphon, which is pretty huge because I end up missing it by like 6 HP. After taking Raptors, I just try going back to my camps and just farming because I realize I'm behind on levels, so the best thing I can do is just take more minions because there's no possible ganks in the area. What I could have done at this point is gone to mid lane and quickly taken some of that farm to reset her wave before she came back. However, what ends up happening is my team gets into a fight on right lane, and instead of backing, I see the opportunities for a potential gank. Even if my teammate dies, I get a 1-for-1, and I end up doing so by getting the Twin Blast into tower and subjugated 2. Unfortunately, I get minion blocked, so I can't catch up to that Narbash. However, I see this potential kill on the Chimera, considering I've counter jungled him so hard. He is literally 3 levels behind, which is huge. If my team followed up here, we could have potentially gotten another kill. Realizing that my red buff is about to come up, I end up deciding to go for the white camp and then my red camps, and seeing potential 3v2 on right lane tells me that maybe there's a chance of a possible gank again. So instead of backing with 2k gold, I end up deciding let me quickly take my buff and my camps and potentially push right lane. The only problem with this was that I was lacking in mana, so I calculated that I could have only possibly done my ultimate and a subjugate by the time I got there. But due to that siphon that I just did, there's a chance I couldn't have done the subjugate. Actually, no, there was a subjugate possibility. So I got the subjugate on the Chimera and it would landed us to getting a kill. Unfortunately, due to the lack of mana, like I said, I did end up not being able to do anything about the other two. Over here, I end up backing, so I spend my 2.4k and get my Bear Alarm completed, I believe. And also my Affliction, maybe. I wasn't too sure. Yeah, there it is. And then I start going for my next item, which is War Ages. Same thing again. As I realized that I've spent so much time on my right hand jungle, I end up trying to take my left hand jungle, but I see a potential gank opportunity in mid, seeing that it's 2v2 and I could make this a 3v2 and potentially get either a Greystone ult or a kill. Aiming for the Greystone ult as a minimum. However, Greystone manages to run away pretty well due to my Siphon not being able to reach him and not slow him. Bear Alarm does do a little bit of damage, leads him to red HP, which forces him to back alongside his Gideon, which also allows me to start counter jungling here, because I know there's no one mid lane, no one left lane, no one, the right laners are both present, therefore the only potential people that can come to me is the Chimera. However, he's also spotted on left lane, so I end up taking both his 4-stack camps. Map awareness is honestly the most important thing as a jungler, and timings and knowing when to do what. Seeing that this Chimera did all in me, I should have realized that his team was nearby and I should have backed. However, I didn't end up backing, and my left laner is pretty slow to react to me. So I end up getting pretty much triple ulted, and I tried to get away, and I believe I actually did. No, I didn't manage to get away. I end up dying to a Gideon Rock, I believe. So, talking it over, I believe that my main mistake here was going in for the Chimera and not realizing that he is going in all in for me despite the level advantage, despite the item advantage, which should have told me that his teammates were nearby. In addition, I should have seen Raptors almost coming up, as I completely forgot about Raptors. I should have prioritized Raptors over anything else. Over here, I'm obviously going to head towards Raptors as I see them fighting in my jungle. Therefore, I'm assuming that Narbash and Twin Blast are both taking Raptors and I can maybe help this potential Belica. I end up missing my subjugate by literally a split second. I end up focusing the Greystone to try and get his ult because I knew Belica was going to die no matter what. After going for the Gideon, he ends up teleporting away and pretty much just survives as his team comes. And my team is nowhere near me. However, I get lucky enough with my bobbing and weaving and I end up getting away. Noticing that they're still in my red side jungle, I end up trying to go help them. Seeing the opportunity that the whole team is chasing my team through their jungle, I end up taking the red buff and I end up leaving as fast as possible because I do not want the previous situations to happen again. Seeing that the Gideon is all alone, if he came into me here, I would have all-ined due to his whole team being mid lane and him being the only one in the jungle, and I know that I can catch up to his teleports. Knowing that both my camps are up and my buffs are up, I end up going to try and take them. Because no one else in the enemy team is spotted on the map until I see 3 people or 4 people right lane. Seeing 4 people right lane makes me pretty sure that my whole team is going to die, so there's no point in going to help them. In addition, the wave is pushed up, so they cannot take my tower, so I carry on taking my jungle. Knowing that I can 1v2 these 2 people due to my HP and my damage that I do with my Q, I end up trying to. I'd use my ulti on both of them, trying to get the Narbash stuck in the tower, and I know that my subjugate is going to end up killing that Narbash there. Sorry, the Twin Blast there. Going all in for Narbash, I end up being chased by a random Greystone that came out of my jungle from left lane, which is quite unusual. And the mid laner is also missing. So as you guys can see, to be honest, there was no fault in me at that point. It's just the fact that my team couldn't rotate to me and follow their lane. Seeing that the enemy Greystone did end up diving my Gideon mid and headed towards my jungle, it led for me to be able to potentially get a kill here. However, him lagging led to me missing my subjugate and eventually me not being able to at least kill him or take his ultimate. However, I can see that there's a 3v3 here and I'm pretty sure we end up winning the 3v3. So I end up doing the exact same thing as before and I ult as many people as I can into my tower and focus the Twin Blast first because it's always best to focus the ADC as they do the most amount of damage. With their ADC dead, I turn towards Greystone and try to at least get his ultimate. Unfortunately, he ends up jumping away and I realize Gideon is also here. This 2v2, we end up winning if we take out the Gideon first, and that's what I aim to do. Missed my subjugate, so I end up retreating. And I decide it's the best time to take Raptors because two of them are dead, one of us is dead, but their Twin Blast is dead compared to us having our Murdoch. Greystone ends up following me, and their Chimera shows up out of nowhere. I know that we can also win this all in, so I end up going all in, hoping that my Murdoch is following. Murdoch does end up being nearby, so I end up going all in. Getting the kill on the Chimera. Gideon having 0 mana, we end up following him again. Him having his stasis ends up saving his life at this point, but we get lucky and our Quank finally rotates alongside his laner. This led us to kill the Greystone. Sorry, this led us to kill the Gideon. And eventually the Greystone too. I'm about to back, but I realize I can just use my Storm Q on the Raptors to get some HP back and also potentially get a Raptor for myself and 2 for my ADC. Because as I am somewhat ahead, it's always good to have Raptors every now and then. We take Raptors, I back, spend 1,000 of my money. As you guys can see, I keep trying to tell my team that we still have a chance, as keeping morale up for the team can always help. If you guys are toxic and just tell your teammates that you guys suck, or you guys are bad, or why are you doing this, why are you doing that, it's going to end up them not wanting to play even more. So always try to keep team morale up, especially when you're doing the best in the team. Because then they potentially end up thinking, yeah, this guy can carry us and we can potentially win. Unfortunately, I do end up giving up at the time as well. But that's just due to my dual laners. Same as before, I realize I can go in for a 2v1. With Chimera also there, as long as I manage to ult all of them, it should be completely fine. Seeing there's 0 minions in the tower. After ulting the Chimera, I know he has no escape, so there's no point of even touching him after my ult. Going straight for the Twin Blast, I end up doing a lot of damage, but even he does quite a lot of damage. But even at this HP difference, with Narbash having 0 mana, I know that I can still carry on going for this. In addition, I know the Gideon is actually mid lane, so I carry on going and I know that there's no one else that can come and potentially ruin this. With the Subjugate hitting, unfortunately, he has a little bit of HP that saves his life. Gideon's missing mid lane, so I end up just backing instantly rather than counter jungling. Seeing that there's 4 people mid lane, we end up going all in for the 4v2 in mid lane. Greystone ends up running away, and I saved my ult for the Gideon ultimate. So we result in getting a very easy kill mid lane with Gideon. Carrying on with my jungling, making sure I'm taking camps as fast as possible in order to maximize their efficiency. I can see that my team is trying to get a kill on right lane, so I end up following. Making sure my teammates know that we have to target Twin and then Gideon in teamfights, as they are the only 2 that do damage to us. After them 2 are dead, we can win the teamfight pretty easily. Knowing this is a 5v2, I want my team to go all in. However, the enemy team realizes this and they end up backing, I believe. At that point, I decided to go all in. However, my team ended up getting the 3 kills on them and 2 kills on us. However, due to the lack of damage in our team, due to our mid laner and our left laners feeding and not having many kills, we end up losing the team fight and dying 5-3. Or 5-2, sorry. This was the first big ace that the enemy team got. Noticing that raptors are about to come up, I end up choosing to go to the right hand side first because I know that the enemy team is going to try and take raptors. So I have to tell my team to try to counter them and go for the raptors too. Making sure I'm keeping an eye on what everyone is building to make sure I know who I can 1v1, who I can 2v1, and who I can not take. Hearing the Greystone in my jungle, I end up trying to go for him. But his team ends up rotating and he's distracting me from them as the two of them are still taking raptors. I end up missing my subjugate due to the verticality glitch. Trying my best to steal the enemy raptors. But I just get CC'd for days, and I think I end up stealing this one. But as usual, only 2 of my teammates are present. Sorry, not even 2, it's just Belica. Which leads for me to pretty much end up dying. The Belica ends up dying. And my team is too slow to rotate. We end up getting the enemy ADC, which means we have a chance, but our ADC gets one shot by the Gideon Rock. And that's our 5th time that they end up getting a team ace. Overall, I end up just trying to get toxic, but I end up realizing it's not the best option. Everyone ends up dying here, and yeah, unfortunately we end up losing the game, but I hope that you guys did understand and learn from this game. I wanted to post a game that I know I also did bad in, rather than just me playing very good, because this way I can teach you guys what to do and what not to do in my analysis. Overall, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy a video like this and you want to see more, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe while you're here for way more videos. And comment down below if you have literally any questions. I'm more than happy to help. And peace!